to the Planning Commission, the City of Woodland Planning Commission meeting for June 17th. This is Planning Commission Chair Kirby Wells. I would like to make clear for the record that this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes of this Planning Commission of June 17th, 2021, will be conducted pursuant to Governor Newsom's Executive Order N-2920. And here's some of the ground rules. The meeting will be held via teleconference, and Planning Commission members will participate via teleconference. These locations are not listed on the agenda and are not accessible to the public. The public is encouraged to listen to the Planning Commission meeting live on Woodland TV Channel 20, and also by going to the City of Woodland website at www.cityofwoodland.org/meetings. If you wish to make a comment during the general public comment or on a specific agenda item, there are 3 ways to accomplish that. First, members of the public are invited to leave a voicemail message at 530-661-5900. Again, 530-661-5900. All voicemail messages received by 6:30 p.m. today will be played during the Planning Commission meeting as part of the record at the appropriate time. Second, any member of the public watching the live stream who wishes to make a comment on an item as it is being heard may submit an email to the following email address prior to public comment on the item. And that email address is planningcommissionmeetings, again, meetings is plural, at cityofwoodland.org. So planningcommissionmeetings@cityofwoodland.org. If you email, please include the agenda item in the subject line. And third, you can participate via Zoom. You will find a link to the Zoom webinar meeting on the Planning Commission agenda that is posted online. Click on the link and join the webinar. The webinar ID is listed on the web page as well. The webinar ID is 921-7009-5836. Or you may access Zoom via phone by dialing 669-900-6833, and then again putting in the webinar ID 921-7009-5836. Once again, that phone number to dial in direct is 669-900-6833. Please note, all comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes. This includes voicemail messages and email comments submitted to be read into the record. The email shall be read for no more than 3 minutes, and this means if there's a longer email, we may not be able to read the full content within the 3-minute limit. Or if you have submitted both a voice message and an email, we will accept only one. Okay, to start, let's open the meeting, and I would like to ask for a roll call. And so, Erica, I'm assuming that you are performing that this evening?
Yes. Commissioner Harris?
Here.
Commissioner Holt? Commissioner Hurst?
Present.
Vice Chair Lizarraga?
Present.
Commissioner Lopez? Okay, wait, I see Mr. Lopez in the queue. Mr. Lopez, oh, okay, he's waving. We can't hear you yet. And then Chairperson Wells.
Excellent. Okay, now I'd like to request that each member of the commission respond to the following questions. And I'm going to go down alphabetically. So, and the question to each commissioner is, can you hear me well? And so first, Commissioner Harris, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Thank you, Steve. Commissioner Hurst, can you hear me well? Valerie?
Oh, I thought you said Steve. I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Vice Chair Lizarraga?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And Commissioner Lopez? Can you see if Fred's responding? Fred, we can't hear you. Are you muted?
Fred, from my side, it looks like your audio is not connected. You might need to click on the microphone in the bottom left corner and choose to connect your audio via computer. If that doesn't work, you can dial into the meeting with a telephone.
Okay, well, we'll come back and.
Fred, if you can hear me, I'm actually going to email you a new Zoom link so you can get in.
Okay. So let's take just a second. Let Fred work that through, so we can get him on the record as hearing us per the guidelines.
Fred, it does look like you're connected now, and your microphone does not look like it's muted, but I do not hear you if you're talking.
No, we can't hear you, my friend. Okay, Jay, maybe you can give Fred a call, and we'll kind of start through the meeting. We'll come back and we can actually connect with them for that verbal. Okay, so my next question to each member, does each member of the commission, and I know that this will show up on the screen in front of you, which will be a copy of the agenda for the meeting. And so, again, I'll go down through the list. Commissioner Harris, can you see the agenda, or have you had access to it?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hurst?
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Chair Liz Draga? Marco, I think you may be. Marco, I don't see you, and you look muted. There we go. So, Vice Chair Lizraga, do you have access to the agenda? Nope, you're muted still, my friend.
Yes, I do have an agenda.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Commission Secretary Erica, have you posted the agenda at a location reasonably accessible to the public?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. The record should reflect that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 members present, because I don't see that we have Chris in attendance this evening. Is that your records that you show, Erica?
That is correct.
Okay.
I just joined. Sorry, Commissioner Wells.
Oh, Chris, hey, welcome. Good to see you. Thank you. Okay, so amend that we have 6 members of the commission attending this evening. At this time, also, Chris, while you're there, let me ask you the 2 questions. Number 1, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, sir.
And number 2, have you had access to the agenda, whether it's on a screen or through the other mechanisms?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Fred, can you hear us yet? Okay, we'll come back. Yeah, I can see you're there, but we can't hear you. Okay, the next item is, at this time, I'd like to request that the other city officials in attendance introduce themselves and their positions so that the record can reflect their attendance.
Good evening, Chairman Wells, members of the commission. Ken Hyatt, City Manager for the City of Woodland, is present.
Good evening, Ken. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good evening, Erica Baumgardner, Business Development Liaison.
Good evening, Erica. Thank you. And we have Brent with us.
Good evening. This is Brent Meyer, the Community Development Director and City Engineer.
Wonderful. Welcome, Brent. I'd also like to acknowledge Jay Kimura, who's our IT gentleman who helps keep us all squared away in this. And as you can see, these are not always perfect meetings. And so it's always great to have somebody in the background to help us with stuff. So Jay, thank you for all your work. Now, as we go through the agenda, I'd like to request that before speaking, you clearly identify yourself each time. I know that this can be redundant, but it is required for the record. In that kind of process this is Commissioner Harris, Commissioner Hurst, etc. Let the individuals speak, and please do not interrupt. I'd also ask to the greatest extent possible that everybody mute their phones, cell phones especially, or devices when not actively speaking. And I know that it's easy to forget to unmute yourself, but please try to remember how to do that so we don't get unnecessary background noise. I would now like to advise all commission members and the commission secretary that any votes taken during the teleconference portion of this meeting must be taken by roll call. In point, tonight we will not have any motions that will require a vote. So this is, we'll have a couple of public meeting, open and closed public meetings on this, but there is no actions before the commission that require our vote tonight. So at this point, I'd like to ask the Commissioner Harris, if everybody else would mute their microphones, if Commissioner Harris could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Steve?
I would be glad to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve, thank you. Now, before we move on to the items in the agenda tonight, I'd like to ask if there are any comments that the commissioners would like to make that are not specific to the items on the agenda tonight that would be for the benefit of the City of Woodland. And so I'll start with Commissioner Harris. Any comments?
No, not any.
Okay, Steve, thank you. Commissioner Holt?
No, sir.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Commissioner Hurst?
Yeah, I'll try and make my comment brief from the other week when I was not able to be heard through my very bad internet connection. It was just in response, I think, to the vote that we had made about the La Quinta property and how I think at the time I didn't make the comment because I sort of saw the tide was very positive in favor of approving the project. But I had a lot of reservations about it, and I think moving forward we should continue to have reservations about approving such a project, especially with like conditional use or something like that. In our town, just because as we've seen with COVID and the pandemic and the fragility of our economy and our global health at this point, and it's already impacted our businesses. We had delayed some payments made by existing hotels that were already struggling under occupancy rates, really low occupancy rates in the city. And just adding another doesn't really make sense to me. And so I think as we move forward, if there is another hotel project that is before the commission, we think long and hard about how this would actually positively contribute to our overall community, especially given the fact that, La Quinta is a chain. It's not someone, locally sort of starting this. and looking at the resources that we already have and how we could have maybe potentially used that property differently. I know that it's been a bit of a blight for a while, and obviously I have not been here as long as the rest of you and how you've been trying to work through these projects. I know it can be difficult, but to be honest, it was a little disappointing how easily everything went through. I guess I'm not as, yes, it looked nice, I guess, for La Quinta, but I guess I'm just not as impressed with that stuff. And trying to keep Woodland's, I think, true character shining instead of continuing to sort of look like every other pass through on the highway in that area. And so, yeah, I would just put a note out there of caution and hesitancy and thinking twice about those projects if we see them again.
Good. Okay, Valerie, thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Lizarraga.
Nothing.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Lopez, if you can hear us yet, are you able to hear us, my friend? Yeah, you can hear us. Can you speak? No sound for you yet. Okay. Okay. Well, you're if you get that figured out with Jay, then we'll be able to bring you in. Okay. The next item is I have no comments, and so moving on to the next item. Do we have any communications from the public, Erica, that we need to provide to the board at all?
I do not see any emails in that regard. I'll ask Jay if he sees anybody.
No, I mean, that question would be just stuff that's not going to be before the commission this evening. So no mail or communications on your side. Okay, we have no minutes to approve at this meeting, and the business item, we only have one business item on the agenda tonight. There's two portions of this agenda. One is a draft environmental impact report, and then the second is the comment on a project that staff will also make. So for both those, so at this point, staff will first provide a presentation. Both Ken Hayek, Erica Baumgartner, and Brent Meyer, and Matthew Gherkin. I don't know, do we have Matthew on here?
Yes, he's on the call.
Okay, good. So Erica, take it away.
Okay, I do see Marco very eager to say something. So Jay, can you let me share my screen, or do I just hit yes and tee it up?
Yeah, go ahead and just hit yes. It'll start working.
Marco, go ahead.
Yes, I have one question, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to interrupt, but do we have any subcommittee reports? I think there was a committee meeting. So I think we might have a subcommittee report.
Okay, let's go ahead and ask that question now. So, Marco, do you have a subcommittee report on the cannabis issue?
I think it might be Mr. Harris.
Okay, Steve?
Today we were represented at the subcommittee by Valerie and myself. Marco had work issues, so he was not able to join us. A lot was done today, some really healthy discussion. Valerie, would you like to brief, or would you like me to brief?
I can add in as needed. We discussed.
Go ahead and you do it, and I'll fill in if I need to.
Please do. We discussed if we would like to see a cap on the number of businesses, retail outlets, potentially located within Woodland. I don't know if I want to say what we decided, because we did decide on a second meeting to finalize those results. I think it's looking towards, we like the idea of retail, we like the idea of retail and delivery, and we're also warmed to the idea of a retail and distribution site within the city. We also talked about leaning towards a tax rate that is ranging between 10 and 15%. We're thinking of around 4 locations total. We're sort of starting out slow because we'd like to see what interest we're getting, which does seem to be quite a bit, but we'd also like to see how everything fits and feels for our community. And then we can always expand from there in terms of issuing additional permits for more businesses to step in. And we're looking, I off the top of my head, I'm probably going to get the zoning names incorrect, but I don't know if we're looking at some downtown area, some mixed commercial and light industrial flex. Is that correct, Steve?
I think that pretty well sums it up.
Yeah.
Steve, I have one question that I'd like to put to the subcommittee. And one of the items that that there may have been some confusion about, certainly I was confused about whether or not, is that when we become linked into the retail cannabis, if we go that route, does the city of Woodland have the ability to participate in the state of California's excise tax on kind of that big bucket of tax money that is collected for retail sales, or what's kind of the process? You may not have the answer to that tonight, but I'd like that maybe for the next meeting.
Commissioner, I can tell you that it was brought up, and I think Mr. Hyatt probably speaks best to that issue.
Okay. Well, why don't we, rather than addressing that tonight, why don't we bring that back to the next, after you've had your next committee meeting, and we can report back. But that's one item that I'd like to have a response to on that.
Okay. I'll do.
Any other questions from before we leave? Any other questions from the commissioners on the cannabis question for the subcommittee? Okay. Hearing none, we will move on. So, and then Chris, any comment, any subcommittee reports on architectural activities?
Not right at this moment. I do have a fresh housing in hand for Prudler. If you guys will remember, it's the one out at the end of East Street near the sports park area. A very minor modification. I'm going to look at that and get back to Megan about that by the end of this week, so that she can move forward with that. But nothing of note.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Okay, once again, now we'll let's go back to the presentation. And so, Erica, take it away.
Actually, Chairman Wells, I'll go ahead and say a few brief words at the introduction, then hand it over to Erica. And first, just to say it's good to be back before the commission after what has been about a 4-year process since the application first came in, and about the end of the general plan update process, which you guys, many of you were actually very intimately involved with. And as you recall, the general plan, one of the key themes, of course, was around economic development, job diversification. How do we leverage proximity to, one of the world's best research institutes in food and agriculture, animal health, and whatnot. And as part of that, identified a particular area of the community right around the 25A interchange, including this property as well as the property to the west of 113, 25A interchange as our key and really primary opportunity in the short run to capture some of that research, innovation, commercialization spin-out. And in the general plan, identified the potential to create a research and technology hub at this location. So this project was really born out of that general plan process. And over the last 4 years, I've been through a very lengthy process and very thoughtful process about how to craft a specific plan, development plan for 350 acres, now called the Woodland Research and Technology Park Project. We released the specific plan document in November of last year for public review, but still in draft form, and public comments are still welcome on that up until the beginning of July. The other important piece of the process for review and consideration is the draft environmental impact report, which was released on May 14th. And so tonight's meeting is really about two things. One is to give the commission and the public an opportunity to provide additional comments or even ask questions around the specific plan document itself and things that you would like to have considered as we finalize the specific plan and bring it back through for final hearings later this summer, early fall. And then before that, we are providing an opportunity for the commission to hear presentation on the findings of the draft environmental impact report, give the commission a chance to weigh in on any comments they may have on the findings of the EIR, as well as give the public an opportunity to provide comments should they be interested. So with that, there's no formal action being asked of the commission this evening. We're just simply looking for an opportunity for, sorry, I don't know if my internet connection is glitching. It looks like it is on my end, but apologize if it is. So no formal action from the commission, but just comments and questions are welcome, both from the commission and the public. So with that, I'll hand it over to Erica to walk you guys through a presentation on where we're at in the process, some specific details around the specific plan document, the EIR as well. So look forward to hearing the commission's discussion this evening and bringing back a final set of documents for your consideration in the near term.
Great. Ken, thank you. Erica?
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you. Good evening, Chairman Wells, members of the commission. Again, as Ken mentioned, the purpose of tonight's meeting is primarily to provide yet another opportunity for the public, as well as the Planning Commission, to provide comments on the draft specific plan and draft EIR. The draft specific plan has been before the Commission on a few separate occasions, so I will try to keep my presentation somewhat brief, and then I'll be turning it over to Matthew Gerken with AECOM, our environmental consultant, to provide an overview of the draft EIR and CEQA process as it relates to the project. As Chairman Wells pointed out, following Matthew's presentation, we will ask that you open for a public comment period on the draft EIR specifically. Comments received during that period will go into the record and will be formally responded to in the final EIR response to comments. And Matthew will probably talk a little bit more about that in his presentation. Staff and the consultant team will not be responding to comments or questions on the draft EIR received this evening, as there is an administrative process for accepting and responding to comments on the EIR. But again, we'll be taking excellent notes, and all comments will be responded to in the final EIR, which will be made available to the public and will be presented at a public hearing of the Planning Commission and the City Council before final certification. If any member of the public wishes to have their comments accounted for verbatim in the final EIR, you will need to email me or mail me those comments directly. Otherwise, any oral comments provided tonight will be summarized for that final document. And then following the public comment period on the draft EIR, we will then ask the chair to provide an opportunity for public and commission members to provide feedback on the specific plan itself. So there will be an opportunity for more general comment and discussion on this specific plan before we wrap up the item this evening. So before jumping into the specific plan, as Ken noted, I wanted to provide the commission with a quick update on the schedule. Just looking quickly at where we've been, right? Council approved the development of the specific plan back in June of 2017 on the heels of the adoption of the Woodland General Plan. Since that time, preparation of the specific plan and environmental analysis has been underway. In November 2020, as Ken mentioned, the public review draft of the specific plan was released and introduced at a meeting of the City Council and the Planning Commission. And then from that time, actually really beginning earlier, or the beginning part of this year, January, February, a number of community and stakeholder meetings have been held to share the draft plan and obtain valuable public feedback. 2 community presentations were held virtually in February with approximately 100 attendees at both meetings. We were able to address a lot of questions during those webinars and subsequently launched an FAQ page on the project website based on the 150 or so questions we received during those two presentations. The project was also shared with the Parks and Recreation Commission and with the Sustainability Commission, focusing on relevant components of the plan. And then between staff and the applicant team, the plan has been presented to several community and stakeholder organizations, including local Rotaries, Kiwanis Chamber of Commerce, the Woodland Tech Alliance, and some regional groups and some UC Davis groups as well. So then in May, the draft EIR was released with the public comment period closing on July 2nd. On July 6th, we will be providing an update to the City Council on outreach and community feedback received to that point, and get direction as we head into the preparation of the final documents. And then following that meeting, we will be working toward a financing plan in terms for the development agreement. We'll likely introduce those items to City Council in August, September timeframe for initial feedback and direction. And then we'll be heading into those final recommendations to the Planning Commission and City Council on adoption of the plan, the final EIR around the September, October timeframe. So outreach to the community and stakeholder groups has taken many forms in an attempt to reach as many people as possible that may be interested in this project. A list of some of those methods are listed here on your screen. Without oversimplifying, I would say, feedback we have received today has been overall positive and supportive of the plan, particularly the Tech Park jobs component. I'll spend just a moment to give you a quick summary of some of the more frequent questions we've received and some of the areas of concern and how we plan to address those, or how the plan addresses those particular concerns. So we did receive feedback from stakeholder groups as well as the commission, the Planning Commission, that maintaining a balance of jobs and residential development through the life of the plan is very important, and we absolutely agree. This is a research and technology center first and foremost, with housing to support those jobs. So the project financing plan and development agreement to be approved with the adoption of the specific plan will inform that specific tie between the residential and non-residential development to ensure that that balance is maintained through build out of the plan. We have also received quite a few comments around the development of a school site in the project. The plan area does allow for a 10-acre elementary school site and goes so far as to identify the preferred location in the plan just north of the 11-acre linear park. And the school site is recognized in the draft EIR. The applicant team is supportive of a school site in the project area and looks to the school district to determine the need. City staff and the applicant team, as well as the school district, are currently in discussion on that item to identify timing, need, and funding mechanisms and how the project can support the district in this area. I've been in conversation with a few individuals and received some great written feedback as well on sustainability aspects of the plan. So the applicant team is looking to see where we can incorporate some of those suggestions as we finalize the document, right, to ensure that the project is a leader in sustainable design and resiliency. Parking also came up. It always manages to come up. In one of the community presentations held in February, there was some concern that there may not be enough parking in the non-residential areas, resulting in possible parking spillover into the residential neighborhoods. We took a look back at the parking standards, and I'm positive that there will be ample parking will be provided in both the private lots as well as on-site and on-street parking. But honestly, I don't want it to be too comfortable for folks, as a key component of the plan is to get people out of those single occupant vehicles. We want them walking and biking or taking alternative forms or modes of travel to work. We want them utilizing the mobility hub and then cutting down on those large swaths of asphalt for parking, which we all know contribute to the urban heat island effect. And then lastly, one of the areas we hear or get more questions about is affordable housing. As the commission will recall, the plan promotes affordable housing opportunities in two ways. First, the project is subject to the city's affordable housing ordinance, which requires a percentage of the units to be developed or that are developed to be restricted at low and very low income levels, or that an in lieu fee be paid to support low income housing development either in the plan area and throughout the city. And then secondly, the plan includes a variety of densities and housing types. Over half of the residential area in the plan is zoned for medium and high density housing, which supports those smaller lots, lot sizes, and smaller housing units, allowing for some of that affordability by design that we've talked about. So I've mentioned the city prepared an FAQ page on the project website addressing many, if not all, of the comments we've received to date. Many more than I just covered, but those were some of the more common questions. If people have concerns or questions about the plan, I would encourage them to start at the FAQ page. It's a great resource. And of course, I'm available, or members of the applicant team are available by phone or email anytime. For questions. My information is available on the website, and it'll be at the end of this presentation as well. All right, so I'm going to jump into a quick refresh on the specific plan itself. So the 350-acre plan area located just west of Spring Lake, bound by Harry Lorenzo and Highway 113 on the east and west, Farmer Central Road on the north, and then down just past County Road 25A to the south to the city's urban limit line. The specific plan will implement the goals and policies of the city's general plan for new growth area SP1A, which is defined in the general plan as a mixed residential district anchored by a research and technology business park, providing a prime opportunity for job creation and diversification within Woodland. So to that end, you will find in the first couple of chapters of the draft specific plan, the project's guiding principles and policies derived from the general plan that shape the overall development framework around land use, sustainability, circulation, and economic development. And of course, it is envisioned that the plan area will develop as a state-of-the-art innovation center campus for technology, R&D, and office uses, including opportunities for existing companies to grow and expand locally. The plan area was conceptualized as being comprised of three core districts: the Technology Park, the Village Center, and the Villages or Residential District, from which the underlying zoning and development standards were developed. The Technology Park District is approximately 120 acres in size, located along the western boundary of the plan area, and will accommodate about 2.2 million square feet of business park and commercial uses through integrated and well-connected campus environment. The Residential or Village District, approximately 135 acres and located along the eastern boundary immediately adjacent to Spring Lake. The Village District will accommodate about 1,600 residential units of a variety of types and densities, as I mentioned, but will transition to those lower densities as you approach the eastern boundary to allow for a seamless transition to the existing Spring Lake community. And then we have the Village Center, which is approximately 45 acres in size, and it's really the heart of the plan area. It's centrally located between the tech park and the villages. Will consist of a dynamic mixed-use town center, the mobility hub, an 11-acre linear park. The Village Center, keep saying right, provides that central gathering place for employees, residents, and visitors to relax and connect. And importantly, for the innovation component, will provide that opportunity for some informal networking as well. And then within the specific plan document, the district concepts allow us to highlight and guide the development objectives within each of those individual districts, the unique aspects of the tech park versus the Village Center and the residential areas. And then sub-districts within those three core areas allow for finer grain discussion and guidance of important like transition zones and relationships between each of the districts as reflected in the design and development standards and in the land use or permitted use tables. And then collectively, all three of those districts work together to create a unique work, live, play environment that we believe will attract the high quality companies drawn by the project location and amenities for employers and employees alike. site. So a key objective of the plan area is environmental sustainability at both the plan level and at the individual project level. Development requirements outlined in Chapter 3 of the plan include project consistency with the city's climate action plan, which will help the city reach its greenhouse gas reduction targets. The specific plan is leaning toward all electric. You will see solar panels, you will see EV chargers. The project will also, upon adoption, develop what's called the Transportation Demand Management, or TDM program, that will achieve a minimum of 10% reduction in vehicle miles traveled, meaning a reduction in car trips. And this is really in addition to some of the foundational elements of the plan design as a mixed-use community with a focus on that alternative transportation that will allow and encourage more people to walk to work or utilize alternative modes of travel. So then on the transportation and circulation, the plan area, again, is built on a concept of enhanced and prioritized pedestrian connectivity rather than on auto dominance or auto dependence. The map on your screen shows the active transportation network. As described in Chapter 4 of the plan, the project area at build-out will incorporate nearly 5 miles of Class 1 pedestrian and bike facilities, meaning the 10-foot wide off-street green belts and multi-use trails, and an additional 3.5 miles of Class 2 on-street bike lanes, encouraging walking and biking rather than dependence on auto trips. There you go. So the mobility hub located along Road B in the Village Center will serve as the core of the alternative transportation system, providing that integrated access to transit service, including an eventual connector to UC Davis and the Tech Park. The hub will offer multiple last mile connectivity, your ride share, Uber share to scooter share amenities. And then, the location of the mobility hub at the Village Center was really intentional with the idea that amenities in the Village Center, like the cafes, the market, co-working spaces, will enhance that hub as a place of connection and will encourage alternative transportation use. It's not really your typical kind of boring, secluded bus stop. So home stretch, guys, hang in there. So some key roadways in Spring Lake, specifically Parkland Avenue and Marston Drive, will connect into the Tech Park to further enhance the connectivity to the Business Park campus, the Village Center, and the Linear Park. However, buffered bike lanes and off-street Class 1 bike paths on both of these roadway extensions between Harry Lorenzo and Road B will support pedestrian and bike connectivity. Parkland Avenue will eventually extend west over Highway 113, but that overpass extension is planned with the future SP1B development on the west side of 113. And then all segments of County Road 25A between 102 and 113 will be completed with the specific plan build out, likely first half of the build out, including extension of that urban forest trail on the north side of 25A. Circulation planning within the Tech Park took possible concerns around increased traffic volume in Spring Lake into consideration very early in the planning stages, where existing roadway networks within Spring Lake were designed to extend into the Tech Park plan area, like Parkland and Marston. Roadway design, particularly for those planned extensions, incorporate a variety of design features and traffic calming measures, including traffic circles, signalized intersections, narrow roadway widths, enhanced pedestrian crossings, on-street parking, bike lanes, that all have the effect of reducing vehicle speeds. A traffic study was completed by the city that's looked at roadway segments and intersections throughout Spring Lake. I'm going to ask Brent Meyer, the city's community development director and city engineer, to take over real quick and give a brief update, high-level overview on the results of that traffic study. And when he's done, we'll go ahead and transition right into Matthew Gherkin to give a brief overview on the draft EIR.
Great. Hello, everyone. Let's see, Erica, can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, so a little bit of background on the traffic study. It was very comprehensive. You can see the number of study intersections here was very comprehensive. So you can see all the way up to East Main Street. There were 5 intersections studied on East Main Street, far north of the project site. Significant amount of intersections looked at within the tech park as well as in Spring Lake and then north of Spring Lake, and then covering 4, well, technically 5 different interchanges within the city. So very comprehensive. A little bit of background on traffic studies in general in California. Traditionally, we've looked at level of service, which is a measure of delay within roadways and at intersections. More recently, the state has moved to VMT, which is vehicle miles traveled. The issue is that level of service tended to cause cities and counties to increase the size of roadway infrastructure, focusing on the roadway itself and not as much on other modes of transportation. Vehicle miles traveled focuses more on reducing overall use of autos, and it also results in more mixed use development and compact development as opposed to urban sprawl. So technically, we did look at vehicles miles traveled as part of SEQRA. There were no I believe there were no impacts found as a result of that. Because level of service is still a concern for residents, we are concerned about how traffic will function within the tech park and areas surrounding it within the city of Woodland. We did look at level of service. Generally speaking, looking at my notes here, we didn't have any significant issues with level of service except for roadways that were already aware of level of service issues. So, for example, if you look at, can you see my cursor here? Or I guess I have a different view. Okay, I'm up here at East Main Street. So, historically speaking, when we've looked at traffic studies anywhere in the city, anytime you look at East Main Street and I-5, East Main Street and 113, we're taking on freeway to freeway traffic in that area, and generally speaking, those intersections in the general plan time horizon are looking at level of service E or F, which is basically very bad level of service, delays in the 90 to 100 seconds per intersection. That doesn't really change with or without this project. Other intersections that have historically been a problem as Spring Lake builds out is Pioneer and Gibson, and then Harry Lorenzo Avenue and Gibson. And part of that's just a function of the geography. We only have 2 north-south roads. At this point, we only have Pioneer that actually goes through until you get over to 102. And that's just because of the presence of 113 and the rather significant size of the community college, county jail complex, and Pioneer High School. Those are still bad intersections from a traffic delay perspective, both with and without this project. But other than that, generally everything is within the city's level of service standard. So although it's not a SEQRA standard, we still have a level of service standard that we adhere to, just in terms of having reasonable traffic flow. Let's see here. Just pulling out my notes. So summarize a few key improvements. Let's see. Is that the next slide or 2 back, Erica? Good. Okay, thank you. So at the intersection of 25A and 113 interchange, we'll have a expanded interchange. We're currently working with Caltrans, proposing roundabouts at the 2 off-ramps, both northbound and southbound off-ramps. Provides adequate level of service for the growth of SP1A or the tech park, and also growth that's planned on the west side of the freeway. And it's relatively affordable compared to other types of interchange improvements. So the other big ones, roundabouts, we'll continue putting in roundabouts as we have in Spring Lake. 25A and Road D is one, and then north of that, Marston and Road D is also going to be a roundabout. There'll be other roundabouts as shown in the drawing that are more at interface of private development and roads that you can see. Enhanced crossings, so probably the most significant, we're showing one here at the intersection on Road B across the street from the yard and the commercial development or business park across the street from there. There may be more than one in between the two intersections of Marston and Road E. Then also at Road E and Road D intersection, which is also where we have a green belt extending into Spring Lake. Anticipate that having enhanced crossing. And then Marston, Harry Lorenzo Avenue. So if you notice, the east side of the specific plan is a green belt that kind of buffers or is a transition from Spring Lake to the tech park. And so at the crossing there at Marston, we'll need to have an enhanced crossing. Crossing at Parkland is actually going to be a signalized intersection. Would also note at the north end of the project site is the, we call it the Sports Park Drive pedestrian overcrossing. That project is planned for construction actually this fall. And the tech park is dedicating the land for the east landing of the pedestrian overcrossing. So exciting. That'll actually be hopefully in place before construction starts or development starts for the tech park. And that's the end of my presentation.
All right. Thanks, Brent. So with that, Matthew, if you are ready.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Brent, Chairman Wells, members of the Planning Commission. Thanks for indulging a short presentation about the environmental side of the project. I will outline briefly what we studied, what our key findings were, and what the next steps are. So starting with the type of CEQA document, California Environmental Quality Act requires local governments when making discretionary decisions to consider environmental effects. And we have to, first step is what type of document. This is an environmental impact report, EIR. As Erica mentioned, it is tiered from the analysis that we already did for your recent general plan update. Tiering means that we use useful information from that previous document and make a more efficient analysis and set of mitigation measures because we've already studied the effects at an up tier level. The general plan included and identified this specific plan area for development consistent with what is proposed within the draft specific plan. And so we have made use of that analysis in this environmental impact report. We've studied alternatives to the design that is before you this evening, and we have supported the analysis in the EIR with a series of technical studies on cultural resources, biological resources, transportation analysis, utilities and service systems, and other topics. Next, please. Thank you. I mentioned the California Environmental Quality Act requires a disclosure of environmental effects. It also requires us to evaluate alternatives to the proposed project, those that would reduce environmental effects, to identify significant effects and feasible mitigation to reduce those effects, and to consider input, especially from other responsible agencies or trustee agencies involved with the ultimate approval of the physical changes included in a project. The environmental part of the equation is not about approval or denial of the project, not really about the merits of the specific plan itself. It's more of a legal disclosure document that the EIR handles. Next, please. So on to some of the key findings here. I just wanted to summarize what's called in the document significant and unavoidable environmental effects. This is part of what we're required to disclose. Those impacts where, despite the incorporation of feasible mitigation strategies, including some of the ones that Erica went over and Brett went over about reducing vehicle miles traveled and associated air quality and greenhouse gas emissions. Despite the inclusion of those feasible mitigation measures, we still have these 5 areas on this slide where there are significant unavoidable effects. For aesthetics, visual resources, any project that changes from an open space agricultural environment to a developed urban setting changes the visual character. So we have a significant unavoidable effect there. With agricultural resources, the city's agricultural preservation ordinance will be applied to this project and one-to-one mitigation required. The county's agricultural conservation ordinance also applied to the areas of the project that are outside the city limits for 3-to-1 mitigation. But that doesn't create new agricultural land. It just preserves agricultural land in a pro rata way relative to the ag land that is lost. So we have a significant unavoidable effect there. With air quality, for a plan of this size and scale, operational effects, ozone precursors, and fine dust is pretty much unavoidable for a project that is this large. Similarly, for short-term air quality effects, with the conservative assumptions that we've made about the pace of possible development in this specific plan, it's very difficult to mitigate short-term construction-related air quality effects for a project like this. For cultural and tribal cultural resources, this is based on consultation with the Native American community and our own research. This is a low to moderate sensitivity area. However, there is always the potential in excavation and earth movement that resources could be disturbed. So there again, it's very difficult for unknown cultural resources, significant cultural resources, to completely avoid the potential for a significant effect. And then finally, with respect to noise and vibration, the specific plan will be phased, and so there is the possibility that an earlier occupied phase of the project could be affected by construction of later phases. And so that's considered a significant effect in this EIR. And then finally, with regard to transportation noise, also for a plan this large, there are often effects along roadways, transportation added, traffic volumes added along roadways that might have some noise sensitive uses along them. With this plan, most of the areas where transportation noise would increase are areas where there won't be noise sensitive uses, but there is that possibility. So that's the final area of significant unavoidable effects that are disclosed in the draft environmental impact report. So this extremely dense slide gives you an idea of the comprehensive nature of our analysis. We have looked at every topic that is relevant under the California Environmental Quality Act. As you see on the bottom part of the slide here, we've looked at every issue in tandem with the analysis that was just done for the general plan EIR, and we focused on disclosing impacts that are peculiar to this particular specific plan area that weren't already addressed as a part of the general plan EIR. Erica mentioned that the public review period continues through July 2nd. This slide represents guidance to anybody that is interested on how to direct comments on the veracity of the analysis, mitigation alternatives presented in the draft EIR, provide comments. Each comment on the draft EIR about an environmental issue will have a written response that will be brought before this body as well as councils prior to consideration of approval of the specific plan itself. The documents are available in the locations presented on this slide, both I guess we're physically with each other to some extent again. So here's the address, documents, physical documents available for review, as well as the online versions at the URLs that are listed on this slide. So the next steps, generally speaking, at least on the environmental side, review and respond to comments received on the draft EIR on potential environmental effects associated with the implementation of this specific plan. And then we revise, if necessary, the EIR to create a final EIR. And then the Planning Commission and ultimately the Council can consider certification of the EIR as well as adoption of the specific plan. At this point, I'll pass it back to Erica and note that it would be appropriate to provide comments on the draft EIR. I understand that there was also a summary of the draft specific plan itself, so I'm not sure how we want to catalog or characterize comments on the specific plan versus the environmental impact report. Thank you very much.
Matthew, thank you. Erica?
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Really appreciate it. So now would be the appropriate time, Chairman Wells, to open for public comments specifically on the draft EIR. And then once we've taken any phone calls or emails, I do believe I have at least one. And then any members of the public who have joined the meeting, Jay can help us with that. Once we've taken all comments on the EIR, we'll close that particular portion of the public comments, and then we can open for a more general discussion and public comment period for the specific plan itself.
Great. Erica, thank you so much. And thank the entire staff, both Erica and Ken, Brent and Matthew. Great overview, review of a fantastic project that has been well thought out. Thank you for the presentation. Again, as Erica mentioned, we'll hold two separate public comment periods on this specific item. We'll first open for public comments the draft environmental impact report. During this time, the public may provide comments on the EIR specifically. Staff and consultant team will not be responding to comments as noted during the presentation. All speakers will have the 3-minute time frame to make their comments. As staff noted, Jay Kimura, our IT manager, will manage the 3-minute clock, so you'll see that on your screen. The public may also make their comments in writing directly to the project staff lead, Erica Bumgardner, at the address email on the screen. So with that, let's open the public hearing on the draft environmental impact report. And at this time, we will open that for public comment. And so, Erica, you mentioned that we may have some individuals on either the phone or comments received. Could you open those for us?
Sure. Yeah, I have one email. I'll read that into the record. It is from Brian Coward. Good evening, Chairman Wells, Planning Commission members, and city staff. I would like to submit, hold on. I would like to submit my public comment in regard to item J1, subject public review draft Woodland Research and Technology Park specific plan and draft environmental impact report on the agenda tonight. My main concern, the formal inclusion of a school in the land use and zoning maps of the Woodland Research and Technology Park specific plan. I and others in the community have been in communication with City and Woodland Joint Unified School District staff, council, and the school board since 2018, raising a red flag over the lack of planning for the elementary age children in the Spring Lake and future Tech Park area. I have attached a petition with signatures, comments, and detailed supporting evidence. Please take the time to review the petition and you will see Woodland is in dire need of an elementary school, and while the district works out the details of financing, we must have the land use and zoning for a school settled. All efforts should be made to allow the district time to plan, finance, and construct the school, as it is critical to a healthy and vibrant community. I would like to express the positive aspects of pursuing neighborhood schools from the city's perspective. I understand that the district is a separate entity from the city, but the impacts of supporting them in every manner necessary to achieve an elementary school in the tech park would benefit the entire city. By formally planning for the inclusion of a school in the land use and zoning maps of the specific plan, we take some pressure off of the district by allowing them to not have to compete with the developers and builders for the critical infrastructure our community will need to be a vibrant and successful addition to the Woodland community. A neighborhood school would also alleviate traffic congestion and the wear and tear on our roads in the transportation of children to schools outside of our neighborhood. We know through the district's own studies there will be 1,000 elementary age students in the Spring Lake and Tech Park area. That if there is no elementary school built, will require a car in order to get to school across town or in Davis. A neighborhood school allows our children to stay local, walk, and ride to school. Spring Lake and the Tech Park have in our plan to have a really magnificent set of green belts. These trails connect our community, get us to move our bodies, making us healthier, and provide a safe means for our children to get to school with minimal interaction with automobiles. I would also be remiss if I didn't bring attention to climate change. We know carbon emissions are contributing to the extreme droughts, the dying of our forests, and ultimately fire season. The city has its own climate action plan, which should not be only a tribute to our children's future. We cannot afford to build our communities in a way that continues to facilitate our dependency on fossil fuels by not providing the essential services needed where we need them. Proximity matters, land use matters. Please plan the formal inclusion of a school in the land use and zoning maps of the Woodland Research and Technology Park specific plan. It's step 1. Sincerely, Brian Coward. That's the only written public comment I've received. Jay, do you have any voicemail messages?
There are no voicemails. Currently, nobody is raising their hand that's connected to the Zoom meeting. If you would like to speak, use your Zoom controls. Please press the raise hand button, and then we can allow you to talk. At this time, there are none.
Okay. Thank you. That was a very well written comment, and it goes along with so many of the other great comments and community involved discussions about this project, which I think staff have done an amazing job in incorporating. So now that we have heard from the public, I will close the comment period and open a separate comment period for any member of the public. Oh no, hold on a second. So, pardon me. So now that we've closed the public section, I'm going to come back to the commission members, and I'm going to go down alphabetically so that we can have any of the commissioners either put comments in or to ask questions. And so at this time, I'll ask Commissioner Harris any comments or questions on the EIR specific, the EIR draft plan. Steve? You're muted at this time, my friend.
That ought to be better.
There we go.
No, at this time, regarding, I do not have any comments.
Okay.
I've had questions of the staff as we've gone along, and I serve on the subcommittee. So the staff has been so forthright, and any questions that I have, we've been answering them all along. And at this stage, I'm very comfortable.
Perfect. Steve, thank you. Commissioner Holt.
This is Commissioner Holt. Thank you, Chairman Wells. I agree with Harris that Commissioner Harris that I've had a lot of questions answered along the way, but one did come up, and it is somewhat of a clarification. Maybe Matthew can help me out with this. We talk about alternative 3 and 4 in the EIR, and unfortunately, as an architect, I'm a slave to visual representation. Were there any visual representations of those alternatives that were developed during your analysis that we could look at, or is it really just a kind of a text and conceptual modeling exercise?
Through the chair, I'll respond briefly.
Okay, Matthew, thank you.
Yeah, sometimes we do develop diagrams for specific plans or general plan alternatives or other sorts of projects. In this case, it was more of a narrative description, although I'll admit we did have sketches just draft internally that we're using to organize our thoughts along those lines, but nothing that would meet the test of an architect. But
I completely understand.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Commissioner Hurst, Valerie, any questions of staff on the draft EIR?
Not at the moment.
Okay. Vice Chair Lezaraga.
I'm happy with what we've done so far.
Okay, good. Thank you. Is Fred able to?
They're working now?
There we go. Hi, Fred.
I think so.
Yay.
You're working. So I got two questions for you. One, can you hear me clearly?
I can.
Okay. And number two, have you had access to the agenda for the meeting?
I have actually most of today on it.
Okay.
I do just want to make one brief comment that the one written or read into about the schools, I do believe that that gentleman has a valid concern. I've seen a lot of times where plans have been laid out and mysteriously something just never takes place and something gets left out. So it's always been either a park or a school or a fire department. So yeah, the guy has a valid reason to write that letter and state that, he wants that area designated, and then if it's up to the school district and everybody else to do their part. But in my opinion, some of the issues that we will face on this, even with the limited, I know that the traffic is going to be a situation there, but I know that Pioneer School, we were supposed to have everything dialed in. There's certain times of the day you go to that intersection and it sucks. So, putting in the amount of housing that you're going to put in there, the amount of businesses, I really hope that you guys really look over this traffic situation and make sure that it's going to flow. Otherwise, you're going to have people going through those neighborhoods to get in and out of there when there's areas that are congested. So I suggest that you like the carpenter says, measure 10 times and cut once. So that's about what I have on that.
Okay, Fred, thank you. Okay, I don't believe I missed any commission members. If that is complete, then we're going to close that item for discussion. And so those comments, if they need to be responded to, but it certainly can be included in the record. I will now open the comment period on the project itself. And so that will be our second comment period. And so let's open that at this point. And Erica, do we have any public comments for our second item?
No, I do not have any.
Okay. And Jay, do we have anybody that's raising their hand or on the phone?
Currently we do not, and there are no new emails either.
Okay, so hearing none and having no people online or raising their hands through the meeting, we will close the public comment portion of that. And once again, I will bring it back to the commission for any comments on the plan itself. I think that Fred's comments about the school probably already go to that item, but just once again, for the final cut, Commissioner Harris, any comments on the project itself?
Well, I'm on record for being for this project. I think it's been conceived well, and the work that's been put in is so good. I do have one concern, and that is for our community in general. And it basically is how the business and tech is built in correspondence with the homes. And I've had discussions with the staff, and they've worked with me along the process. And at this stage, I'm happy. My main concern at the end of the day is one that I know others have, and that is that this does not turn us into a bedroom district. these jobs, to me, are the key to building the houses. We don't want to build the houses to draw people without jobs. So, those concerns have been taken seriously by the city and staff and the developer. And so I think it's being worked out to my satisfaction. And that from the get-go has been my biggest concern about the project.
Good. Steve, thank you. Commissioner Holt.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments, no questions though.
Okay.
And no need to take notes. I will provide a pretty substantial email to Erica to distribute to the whole team. And so I'll keep it brief. I'm not going to go through all of them. I do want to kind of restate and support our city manager's comments in the beginning. This has been a long 4 years, but I remember many of you who were on the Planning Commission back in the general plan. We really went round and round about this, and Mr. Hodgson has stayed with us the entire time and has brought back a really great project. So first and foremost, I'd like to just say that's really awesome to see. Sometimes these things get victimized by the economy or things like that, but this one has done really well. My biggest concern, and I'll put this into my comments, I've looked through all of the residential design standards, all of the commercial design standards, and I think they're really clean and really concise. But my concern is really twofold. One, the Village Center mixed use area is kind of small. I believe it's 3.5 acres. And I know that we struggled really badly in Spring Lake with things of about that same size, about 3 to 5 acres. I think this is a little different situation. This is not a strictly residential area. Right across the way is a lot of other business. So I think that maybe it's saving grace here. But I know we struggled getting developers to come in and build actual commercial on a small site like that. It was very challenging. The other item is, and I'm continuing my research in this realm, is how to write good non-subjective, rather objective design standards based on the state of California's laws regarding housing development, how we maintain high quality design while still remaining objective. I think that the language in here has done a really good job, but I'll definitely watch this as we continue along to see if anything comes up to challenge that. So thank you very much. I think the team's done a great job. I'll provide a more extensive list of comments to Erica.
Good. Chris, thank you. And as always, we greatly appreciate your professionalism and your expertise. You add a lot to our commission, and I think you add a lot to the city of Woodland for kind of your oversight, and I really appreciate all that you do. So thank you for those comments. Next, Commissioner Hurst. Valerie?
Hi. Yes, I do have some comments. I think one of the first things that stands out to me is the drive-through and gas station location in the southwest portion of this plan. I think we talked a lot about the climate action plan. I think we talked a lot about trying to walk the walk when it comes to this sort of thing. And when I see a drive-through integrated into a specific plan, I think, are we encouraging healthy habits? Are we encouraging increased miles traveled in a car? Are we encouraging that sort of transient nature as well? I would like to see something different and or nothing there, maybe more green belts or something that does not include the drive-through. Similar for the gas station, I would like to see a little bit more reason as to why we need to necessitate a gas station there. Is it because that we think there will be increased traffic flow, that, you know, our other gas stations that are in really near proximity actually along our sort of mixed commercial districts adjacent to this property, can they not handle that flow of traffic? I see an area of sort of concern in that corner. In terms of landscaping, I think I liked what I saw from the native grasses and the drought tolerant landscape. Maybe, you know, since we had specific language in there of encouraging something, pollinators are also a great thing to include in landscaping plans. And it speaks to also Woodland's place in agriculture. I did have a question for, I don't know if Erica could take this, the hotel. I see the hotel and B&B portion of the plan. It looks like the B&B is going to be allowable subject to a citywide ordinance being implemented. What is that going to take, or do you see that not being able to be implemented?
So it's not B&B, I think it's Airbnb is probably what the ordinance was referring to, as opposed to like a bed and breakfast type of boutique type hotel. The city does not currently have an ordinance around just the temporary like VRBO type rentals. So I think what that was acknowledging is that the plan would be consistent with an ordinance if one should be adopted for the city.
So it's not referring to a bed and breakfast like an actual business. It's referring to an Airbnb situation in this plan.
Yeah. If you could tell me what page, if you happen to be looking at it, I'll just confirm that we articulated that correctly.
Yeah, it is on page 71, I believe.
Or I can follow up with you after, it's fine.
Yeah, we can follow up and talk about it. I just noticed something there and it seemed, it definitely didn't articulate Airbnb. It sort of threw me off there. Masonry walls was another one. I think visually, the visual of the masonry wall in the specific plan that I saw, I believe on page 173. I don't know, it sort of looked like any other masonry wall that we could kind of have going anyplace else. It tends to make things look stark, and I know in the plan, I really do acknowledge the fact that the language in this plan is trying to avoid the look of starkness and sort of bare walls in a lot of other locations, especially in the more industrial park area. I think we should follow through with that on the masonry walls. Can we make that, can we make a couple of them at least maybe more living walls, sort of tiered walls with grasses and plantings, so that it's nice for the homeowners, it's nice for passersby. It just doesn't look like any other residential establishment development that you're seing. This is sort of our crown jewel. Why not follow through on the details, I think, in terms of those retention walls along the corridors. That's it.
Great. Valerie, thank you. Well thought out, good comments. Vice Chair Lizarraga.
No, I'm a happy guy with everything. I agree with most of the comments. And there is the concern that I've always had with any kind of planning, because I did planning before in my young days. That was a long time ago. The concerns, it's like what happened with Spring Lake. You planned everything for the best and everything, but the economy that comes, and falls on top of you. That would be the only concern that I would have, but that's uncontrollable. And I think we should be conscious of that. And that the only blame that we could put on that is that we live in a system that goes up and down. But yep. I am excited and hoping for the success of this project because it looks great.
Marco, thank you. And finally, Commissioner Lopez.
There we go. Actually, Valerie hit on something that I was kind of looking at. we do have a lot of wall section going up. It would be very nice if we were to either have some patterns incorporated into just some of those bland walls to accentuate the fact that that technology park and that whole development is supposed to be kind of like a beacon for this area. And you're going to have a lot of surface area where you can express some of the, some of the uniqueness of what we're, trying to develop there. I just hope that they can look at some of that and incorporate some of that into some of the areas where you have large surfaces that are, either adjacent to the freeway or, in the neighborhoods, that we just add something more than, tan cinder block, 10 foot high, So I've had a chance to see some stuff that, like in Las Vegas, they have some very unique construction on their walls, the designs. If you go through Phoenix, they have a lot of natural animation on their freeway stuff. It's actually really beautiful. So I think that there has to be something that we can come up with that, and kind of incorporate some of that into these, where there's just, like I said, just a plain wall of concrete. So that's one of my main concerns. I know Chris's head is probably swirling around with ideas of what we could do. But, I just think that there's, between the creativity that we've had in this planning commission and staff's open-mindedness to just, really do the best that they can, I'm pretty sure that we can come up with something that would just really stand out and be a benefit to the tech park and Woodland in general. So that, when you came into the area, it was actually something very visually stunning that kind of draws you in, as well as what's there. Not just, some, 3-story buildings with a lot of glass on them and, a couple of trees here and there. Now, we just really need to make something happen there. So I hope that doesn't put any undue pressure on anybody, but, we just really need to, make something super nice there. So that's it on that.
Brett, thank you. So I'll throw in my comments to this. One, I really want to express to the staff, to Ken and the entire city staff, and to the developer on this, what a great job the team has done, not only in the design end result, but in their communication with our board, communication with the subcommittee, and communication with the public. Because I think that at the end of the day, we can look at this project and really see just a very, very high level and quality of work that is unique to the entire region, and maybe to the state. I mean, this is really an amazing opportunity for the city of Woodland, and I think that the staff deserves, and the developer, like Marco has said, and Fred has said, you guys stayed with us even though the ups and downs of the economy were going there, and you stayed true to this plan. I would also say that I'm in support of the gas station on the intersection. That's one of the things about Woodlands. We have 113 going through our city, and essentially, if somebody needs to get off and get gas at a peak time, you've got that. It only adds to that traffic problem, whether they're getting off Gibson and trying to get to the Bel Air, whether they're trying to go downtown, and get on Main Street. It is very difficult, and there's no signage. So I think that the city of Woodland loses opportunity for tax revenue and income, jobs, and business opportunities. And those cars are, those are not all Woodland cars that go down 113, but we're still going to need fossil fuels for a while until there is truly a true electric opportunity for our country. And with that, those are all my comments. I would ask that the staff incorporate what I think are great comments from all of our commission members. And also I would ask that we do put the focus on the school that the gentleman expressed, to make sure that we do commit to working with the school district to get, to make sure that we provide those opportunities for those families. That, what a great thing to be able to have your kids be able to bike or walk to school with their friends. So really, really good. And with that, I'm going to close this item. And then I'm just going to finish up and just real quickly ask if anyone has any other comments that is not regarding these items. And so I'm going to go through quickly. Harris, any other questions not regarding this? Steve?
Hey, yeah, you got to remind me.
There we go. I know.
Chris, we're almost done with these, aren't we? But anyway, no, I don't have any comments. Everything's good.
Good. Commissioner Holt, anything other than what we've already talked about?
No, sir. No comments. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Hurst, Valerie, any other items that we would like to discuss before we close our meeting?
No, I just think that Commissioner Lopez made great points, and that we deserve some quality from developers. I don't think it's asking too much, and it looks like we're on the right path. But I think that something like good masonry walls, unique masonry walls, unique visual contrast is what we deserve in this case, and what this project should be accomplishing. So yeah.
Good. Vice Chair Lazraga.
I think I've said just about everything.
Okay. And finally, Commissioner Lopez. Nope. You got to unmute, my brother.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I got it all out last time.
So again, thank you, everybody. Now, I want to ask Commissioner Lizarraga, would you be willing to make a motion that we adjourn the meeting?
I am anxious to make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
And yeah, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. Everybody, thank you for a wonderful job. Ken, love to see you here. Great job. And, maybe we can put a food front thing up on our masonry wall thing or something like that.
I got some ideas.
Yep. And with that, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody. Erica, thank you. Great presentation. Everybody, good night.
Great to see you. Looking forward to the live meeting.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.